Hi everyone, I'm Jacy from Craft Life, and I'm here today to teach you how to make a Rainbow Loom large tablet case. And yes, it does fit the iPad. I've had so many requests to make this tutorial, so the supplies you will need are 2 looms, your Rainbow Loom hook or crochet hook, and rubber bands, and you will need a lot of rubber bands. Today I'm using blue, purple, yellow, green, and pink. So please get your supplies and get ready for step 1. This is step 1. You will need to have your looms apart, so please pause the video and press play when you are ready. Now we can begin. So you're going to start by taking your first 2. Have this one so that the arrow is pointing towards you, and turn this one so that the arrow is pointing away from you. On the end, please put a small blue piece on the very end. Now we're going to take our first big blue piece. You're going to stick it so that side is in the middle of the blue piece, and you're going to do the same for this side so that it's in the middle. Now we're going to take 2 more rows. For this one, it's going to point towards you. And on this one, you want to have an equal amount of space on these 2 pegs and these 2 pegs. So they're the same. And on this one, you're going to do the same thing. Turn it around though, so that the arrow is pointing away from you. There should be an equal amount of space between these 2 pegs and these 2 pegs. And on the very end, we're going to take a small blue piece and push it down. And now we're ready to begin the tablet case. I'm going to do the bottom row with you and the first 2 rows of the case. So if you already know how to do this, you can fast forward the video, but I've been asked to do steps on camera with you. So let's start. We're going to start on these 2 pegs. We're going to make an X. And you're just going to make X's. And it doesn't matter which way you lay your X's. You just need to have X's on the bottom. Now, we're going to skip these 2 pegs entirely and these 2. So we're going to begin back on these 2. Now, once you finish them, we're going to go from peg to peg all the way down. And on these where they're really close, you can go on the sides and push them down. And our last 2 for this side, and then we're going to go on this side. Now we're going to do our 2 rows all the way around. So we're going to turn our loom around so that this rose arrow is pointing towards you and this rose arrow is pointing away from you. You want to make sure that all of these rubber bands are pushed down because this is our bottom row. So we're going to lay a top row. You're going to start on these two pegs and we're going to go all the way up and around. Even do our empty pegs. Now you can turn your loom around and we're going to go up again. Now that we have all our rubber bands laid, we have a bottom row and a top row. And what you're going to do is take your bottom row over the top on all of these. So we're going to start on this peg and we're going to go around and take our bottom loops over the top on each of these. Each end has 2 rubber bands and the rest of these have 3 rubber bands. So I'm going to take my 3 rubber bands over on all of these except the ends, which have 2. And you might want to push them down as you go. Do nothing to these, and then come back and do the rest of these. Now take your 2 rubber bands, turn your loom around, take your 2, and the rest will be 3 except our ends. Remember, do nothing to these, and then keep going. Except push them down. And your 2. Now make sure all of them are pushed down, and we're going to lay another row. So start on these two, go up and around. Now you can turn your loom around and go back up. Now we have a bottom row and a top row, and what you want to do is take your bottom row over the top. Each peg will have 2 rubber bands. So starting where you stopped, you're going to grab your bottom loops over the top on all of these. And push them down as you go. And on these, you're going to grab these 2 and these 2. Now turn your loom around and go down this side. And take these 2 and keep going. And as you can see, these have started to separate from each other. We just did 2 rows together, and you need 10 rows in total. So please do 8 more rows of laying your rubber bands and taking your bottom row over the top. I'll be right back. I just finished my 8 more rows, and now I have 10 rows in total. I'm able to count them by the thick rubber bands that build up or the lines. And as you can see, I changed my color. I did 5 rows of my first color and then 5 rows of my second color. And you can use whatever pattern you'd like. Also, you can fast forward this part if you already know how to do this. So, I was just asked to do all the steps on camera. So now I'm going to hook off for our sides. So you're going to go to your 4th peg, and we're going to grab our bottom loop over the top on that peg. So grab your bottom loop over the top. Then on your 5th peg, do the same thing and go down. And remember, all I'm doing is grabbing my bottom loop over the top on all of these. And you should be able to count 4 pegs on this side, so I have 1 more to do. And starting on your 5th peg, not your 4th, you're going to take your loops off. And if you didn't hook them correctly, it may fall apart. And you should be able to count 4 pegs on this side. Now I'm going to lay my rubber bands down. So I'm going to change my color again to yellow, and I'm going to go all the way around, starting from my 4th peg. Then turn your loom around. And go to your 4th peg. Now we have a bottom row and a top row. And we're going to take our bottom row over the top on all of these. So starting from this side, we're going to grab these 3 over the top, these 2, and the rest will be 2s except the end on the other side. Now hook all the way down. Bring your bottom loops over the top. And each peg should have 2. Push them down as you go, so you don't have to do it in the end. And do the last 4. And this peg will have 1 rubber band. Now push these down, and we're going to lay another row. So start on this side. And now we're going to bring our bottom row over the top. Starting on this peg, which has 1 rubber band, and the rest will have 2 except for the other side's end. We have just done 2 rows together, and you want to have 35 rows for the screen. So you're going to do 33 more rows of laying your rubber bands and bringing your bottom loops over the top. I'm going to change color after every 5 rows. I'll be right back. I just finished my 33 more rows, and now I have 35 rows for my screen. Now I'm going to close off my screen and start the top. And I'm switching color again. So as you pick this up, be very careful, and you're just going to turn it. And we're going to place rubber bands all the way around our loom this time. Starting on these 2 pegs, then go up and around. And we're going to even lay our rubber bands on the empty pegs this time. Now we have some bottom rubber bands and some top rubber bands. And on our empty pegs, I'll show you what to do in a moment. So you're just going to take all your bottom rubber bands over the top. So this one has 1, and the rest should have 2, except for the end on the other side. Then go all the way down and bring your bottom loops over the top each time. And you may want to push them down as you go. Now do your last few on this side. Push these down. And on our empty pegs, we don't want to leave our rubber bands just sitting there, so we're going to hook through them. On this one, we're going to grab our bottom loop over the top, and this is our 4th peg that we're starting on. And then on the rest of these, it's super easy. You're just going to grab your bottom loop over the top on all of these. And if this happens to you, just put it back on. So you want to push these down so that doesn't happen to you. And you can always push your looms down if you feel that they are going to fall apart. So just hook back to your fourth peg on this side. And push these down. Now this row becomes our bottom row, and we're going to lay another top row. So starting on these 2 pegs, you're just going to go all the way down. Now we have a bottom row and a top row, and we're just going to take our bottom row over the top. Each peg should have 2 rubber bands on it. Except this one, it will have 1. And on the rest of the empty pegs that you had, you're just going to take 2 rubber bands over the top each time. And remember to push down as you go. This one should have 3, and the rest should have 2. Now turn your loom around and go back down. We have just done 2 rows together, and you want to have 10 rows in total. So please do 8 more rows of laying your rubber bands and bringing your bottom loops over the top. I'll be right back. I just finished my 8 more rows, and now I have 10 rows at the top. Now I'm going to finish off the whole case. And to do this, we're going to make X's like we did in the beginning, from peg, diagonal. And it doesn't matter how you lay them, you just need to have X's. And remember, do not push these down because this is our top row and we have a bottom row that we're laying them on top of. Now once you finish that, we're going to do X's from peg to peg all the way down. Starting on our first two, and then go all the way down. And as you can see, your rows will start to come together, but that is completely normal. And your X's become harder to do, so you can just open them up a little bit and then lay them down. Now we are ready to bring our bottom loops over the top. Let me just show you that we have a bottom row and a top row, and we're going to take our bottom row over the top. So start on this peg, and we're just going to take our bottom loops over the top, and there are going to be 2 rubber bands for each of these. So just take your 2 rubber bands each time over the top. You can push them down as you go. And then continue. Push them down. Now you're going to turn it around and do this side. If you already know how to do this, you can fast forward. Now we are ready to finish the case. I started by separating the bottom loop from the top loops. And we're going to start on this side with this rose arrow pointing towards you and this rose arrow pointing away from you. And on this one, we want to change out the rubber bands to make this one the bottom and this one the top. So you can stick this one on your hook or your finger, grab this one, stick this down, and stick it back on. So we just changed the order of them, and we're going to grab our bottom loop over the top and onto the peg in front of it, or next to it. And we're just going to continue that all the way down. And to make sure that you're grabbing the bottom loop, you can look at it, and if it's grabbing all the loops behind it, then you know it's your bottom loop. So you're going to grab your bottom loop over the top, check it, and continue. And if you already know how to do this, you can fast forward this part of the video. And you want to check each one because you spent so much time making this case, you just don't want to ruin it on the hooking. So check each one as you go. Then go to the side. And I just hooked one row with you. And you're going to hook this row all the way down until you get to this peg. I'll be right back. I just finished hooking all down this row, and I stopped right here. So, on this peg, we're going to hook our bottom loop over the top and onto the peg in front of it. So now on this peg, you're going to stick your hook through both of those rubber bands. Grab 2 rubber bands, stick it on your hook, pull these through, and we're going to pull 2 loops through the other 2 loops to make a slip knot. And then you can just take them off your loom. And I'm going to help my loops off so I don't break them. Help them all off. And on this one, you can either help them off or just take them off. But I'm going to help mine off because I don't want to break any rubber bands. So now you can take your looms off them, move your looms away, And at first, your rubber bands are going to go all over the place, and you're just going to need to stretch them around to make them fit. So I'm just pulling the two blue sections like this, and it's pulling them inside and making them adjust. And you're done. This is what it looks like when it's done. And as you can see, it fits the iPad. And I did not add a camera hole to mine, but if you would like to, please view my phone case tutorial on how to add a camera hole, like I did in this one. And I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and if you make some, I'd love to see them. My Instagram is CraftLifeUSA, so please tag me in a photo. And don't forget to like us on Facebook, pin it on Pinterest, and subscribe right here on YouTube. I hope you're living a craft life just like me. Thanks for watching. Bye!